Yes, good day everyone there. You're welcome to lesson 9. Remember, we are still in Kingdom Animalia, and today we are going to look at 3 different phyla, and that is phylum Annelida, phylum Mollusca, and phylum Echinodermata. Wow! So I want to welcome all of you to this lesson, and we want to start with phylum Annelida. I don't know whether you're able to identify any members there. Yeah, probably you are able to see some annelids there, the earthworms. Well, we are going to look at others as we proceed with the lesson. So welcome to phylum Annelida, and we want to start with the general characteristics of this phylum. Well, these annelids are coelomates, and they are triploblastic. Remember, we looked at triploblastic coelomates, those that have 3 germ layers and a fluid-filled cavity called the coelom. And equally, the annelids qualify to belong to triploblastic coelomates. And then they have no chitineous cuticle. They don't have a cuticle in their body surface. Therefore, their body surface can easily take in water. They possess chitineous bristles, however, and these bristles are intertwined within the parapodia, and they support in increasing surface area for gaseous exchange. They also play a role in locomotion. Well, we shall see their structure shortly. And those bristles are called the chaetae. They exhibit metameric segmentation. That's why they are called the segmented worms. They have segments all over their bodies, and those segments are repeated and almost look the same. They are also bilaterally symmetrical, meaning when you divide them into 2, you can divide them into 2 equal parts. Yes, from anterior to the posterior, they can be divided into 2 equal or 2 mirror-like parts. That's what we call bilateral body symmetry. Well, other characteristics include the following. Their alimentary canal is straight, tubular, and complete, meaning the alimentary canal which is complete is one which runs from the mouth to the anus. And the annelids equally have that kind of alimentary canal. They also carry out extracellular digestion, meaning they secrete enzymes from their cells, and those enzymes can digest food materials within the body cavities, wherever the food is, outside the cell. And then they, of course, carry out excretion. But to facilitate the process of excretion in annelids, they have modified structures called the nephridia. So those nephridia are responsible for carrying out the process of excretion, removal of waste from the body. They use the nephridia. Well, and then the body wall is contractile or dermo-muscular, consisting of outer muscle fiber, which is circular, and then the inner, which is longitudinal. So they have muscles that run longitudinally and then also circular. And those muscles are responsible for contracting and relaxing, bring about locomotion. Remember, these organisms use a hydrostatic skeleton. It's where muscles play a very big role. Great. These organisms, their body organization is the organ grade, meaning they have the organ system of organization. Unlike remember the cnidarians and the sponges, meaning the annelids are much more advanced compared to the cnidarians and the sponges, which use cell level or tissue level organizations. The annelids use or adopt or have evolved to have an organ system level of what? Organization. Great. Then when you look at their blood vascular system, they have a closed blood vascular system. Remember, we have 2 types of blood vascular systems. There is an open system and then the closed system. The closed system is where blood passes through vessels. and the annelids have a closed vascular what? System. And surprisingly, their blood is also red because they have hemoglobin and then erythrochlorine. That word is erythrochlorine, not erythromycin. Erythromycin is medicine. It is erythrochlorine. So they have those two pigments that make their blood red, and most importantly, those pigments carry out oxygen. They are capable of bonding with oxygen and transporting them all over the body of the annelids. Great. So let's look at their classes. Annelids are classified in two different classes. We may not finish all of them, but for the purposes of our lesson, we shall look at the common classes, but also the major ones, the major classes of phylum Annelida. To begin with, we have class Polychaeta. We can pronounce together class Polychaeta. And those ones are majorly live in salty water bodies like oceans and seas. And they are therefore marine. They are termed marine worms. And they include the lugworms and the ragworms. So we can have a look at some of the structures of those organisms. We shall be looking at introducing some new terms like parapodia and then the chaetae or chaetae. That word can either be chaetae or chaetae. So the parapodium is the projections from the body walls that can be used to serve purposes of gaseous exchange, locomotion, and feeding. And they exist in some of the annelids, as we shall see shortly. The ragworm, I hope you can see now where the parapodia are and the chaetae. Those very many projections you are seeing there, the parapodia, and attached to them are very many chaetae. That's why the name Polychaeta comes from. They have many chaetae. So that one you're seeing there is the ragworm. Probably you may not have seen it because it's a purely marine organism. It lives in oceans, the base of the oceans and the seas. That's why it's not common. So let's look at their characteristics. Their sexes are separate, meaning they have male and female separate. And then most of them are marine. Most of them have a distinct head, meaning you can easily see the head. Unlike other, like the earthworm, where you cannot see the head clearly, the polychaetes, like the lugworms, you can easily see their head, where the head is located. And then the chaetae are numerous. They have very many chaetae, and that's where their name comes from, the name of the class, Polychaeta, meaning many chaetae. And they occur in the projections of the body wall called the parapodia. So the parapodia are the larger ones, and the chaetae are very small projections. They do not have the clitellum, and that clitellum is usually existent in sexually producing adult species of some classes, like the Oligochaeta, where the clitellum is used to eggs. Yes, as we shall see later on. Well, so those are the characteristics of Polychaetae. So let's look at class Oligochaetae. And the major member there is the earthworm. And I know this one, you must have come across it several times. Usually easily seen when it rains. That's when it can locomote. You can see it. It absorbs water across its body skin, and then it is able to constitute a hydrostatic skeleton and can move about. So you can see the structure there of the earthworm, where it has a complete digestive system from the mouth at one end to the anus. So it has a complete digestive system. However, the head is not easily distinguishable. You cannot easily see where the head is. And then it has the clitellum, as you can see there. That clitellum is existent in mature organisms, mature earthworms, and is where the eggs are enclosed. And then it has the nephridia. Remember we said nephridia are structures or organs for excretion, where waste products are eliminated from. They're eliminated from the nephridia, and then it has the chaetae or the chaetae. You can see there the chaetae, those small projections you can see, and they are not so many. They have few chaetae, and hence the name for oligochaetae. They are either called the chaetae or chaetae. And then it has a number of heart chambers, as you can see there. The heart has a number of chambers circulating all over the body. Remember, they have a closed circulatory what? System, where blood passes through vessels. And then, well, you can have a look at it once again before we proceed. So that's the structure of the earthworm, the oligochaetae. So let's look at their general characteristics. They possess relatively few chaetae or setae, and then they do not have the larval forms. They have a less distinct head, meaning you cannot easily differentiate or identify the head easily. They do not have the parapodia. Remember, in the lagworm, the parapodia were there, those larger projections from the body wall, laterally located. However, they have the chaetae, but not so many as well compared to the polychaetes. And then they are hermaphrodites, meaning they have both male and female organs within the same organism. They live in fresh water or soil, and I think you must have seen them. And when you go to swampy water, in stagnant water, and you dig the soil around that water, you can easily find earthworms there. Sometimes they use them as baits for fishing. And then they have the critellum. The critellum is present, and you have seen it. We said it's where the eggs are enclosed in the mature species. And then it contains the mucus glands. And those mucus glands, sometimes during sexual reproduction, they are very vital because they secrete the mucus around the critellum, and that mucus is used to stick the two sexually reproducing organisms together, so that the gametes can be passed from the male to the female. So the mucus is a sticky substance there that can bind the two together. Mucus is also used for other purposes. Yes. And then we have general biological importances of earthworms. Earthworms are existent and sometimes very difficult to tell whether they are advantageous biologically or they contribute to the survival of other organisms. But most important, they do. We need to appreciate that they mix soil layers. So as they burrow into the soil, they are able to mix the soil layers. The inner soil layers are pulled out, and then the outer layers are pushed in, and that is very vital for soil fertility. They also burrow in tunnels, which improves aeration and drainage of the soil. So as they burrow, they create holes where air can pass to reach the deeper layers there. And then therefore other organisms within the soil could be able to access oxygen for gaseous exchange or for respiration. And then they add organic matter into the soil by excretion and death. When they die, they rot, and then that adds manure to the soil or organic matter. And then also when they excrete, they are putting the organic matter into the soil. Secretions of the gut neutralize the acidic soils. Well, so when we have a number of earthworms in a given soil sample, it's a sign that it's a well-balanced soil, because the earthworms always secrete substances that neutralize acidity in the soil. Some soils are very acidic and therefore would be harmful to some plants. So existence of earthworms in your soil is a blessing. It is a sign that the soil is fertile. And then dead vegetation is pulled into the soil where decay takes place. So these earthworms play that role as well, and in nutrient recycling. Great. So let's move to another class. Hirudini. Let's pronounce together. Class Hirudini. And the members of this class include the hirudo, which is popularly used for medical purposes. The medicinal leech is what I'm talking about. These are leeches which are used to suck blood from patients, especially blood which is contaminated. Yeah, so if you get an accident or you get involved in an accident and there's blood within your body tissues that is difficult to remove surgically, they usually employ the leech. The leech is a blood-sucking annelid that can suck that blood and remove it from the body. Well, we shall see them shortly. They are free-living, or they are carnivorous, although there are some that are parasitic as well, ectoparasites of either fish or humans. They don't have chaetae, they don't even have parapodia. They also don't have a distinct head. They don't have the clitellum like the earthworms. And some of them are ectoparasites, like we said before, with the anterior and posterior suckers. A leech can suck from both the front part and from the back, from the anterior and posterior parts of the body. So you can see there the medicinal leech there being employed to suck blood from the patient so as to relieve her either from pain or accumulating waste blood in her body. So it can be used for that purpose, and they are usually cultured or bred in large numbers for medicinal purposes. Yes, I don't know whether you have ever seen them somewhere. They are usually common in freshwater lakes. So if you have ever carried out fishing in swamps, you must have ever encountered the leech. In Uganda, they call them a vinoso. One is a chinoso. So they are quite common. In Ateso, they call them idike. Those are very many. And then one is edicate. So I don't know whether you have ever encountered them, but that is how they look like. They are also annelids. So having looked at the two classes there, the three classes of phylum Annelida, we mentioned something called the coelom, and would like to expound it more, to discuss more details about the coelom and the coelomic fluid before we proceed to other phyla. So when you talk about the coelom, we are talking about the main body cavity of many triploblastic animals in which the gut is suspended. So it is that fluid-filled cavity, the main body cavity, yeah, where most of the organs of the body, including the digestive system, where they are located. That part there is called the coelom, and is usually found in organisms that are triploblastic. Organisms that have the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm. So usually the coelom is a modification of the mesoderm. It's found in the middle of the ectoderm and the endoderm, and it's where most of the organs are located. The principal mode of origin is by separation of the mesoderm from the endoderm. So it is found within the mesoderm, in the junction between the mesoderm and the endoderm. It contains a fluid-filled cavity, or what we call, that fluid is called a coelomic fluid, which receives excretory waste and gametes, which reach the exterior via ciliated funnels and ducts. So this coelomic fluid is circulating in the body, and it is responsible for removal of waste from the body. Is where the wastes are deposited so that they can be ejected out of the body. So let's look at the biological significance of the coelom. It provides space in which internal organs can grow, develop, and function independently of each other. Remember, different organs perform different functions, and they shouldn't be interfered with other organ functions. So therefore, the coelom there provides the buffer zone through which each organism can develop independently and perform its functions. It also contains a coelomic fluid, which bathes the organs and can act as hydrostatic skeleton, especially in some organisms, including Annelids. It allows the animal's internal organs to move independently of each other and move independent of the whole body as well. So you can have, for example, the digestive movements in the body, the peristaltic movements in the stomach, in the gut, or like in the stomach or in the gullet, taking place, and they are not affecting the kidneys. That movement is not affecting the spleen parts of the body. So it's because of the presence of the coelom that enables the cushioning of different organs, enabling them to perform their function without affecting other organs in the same system or in the same body. And then the coelomic fluid may be used to saturate food or saturate wastes or respiratory gases, although this function is mainly carried out by the body vascular system. Yeah, but ideally, the coelomic fluid was developed for those purposes. Saturation of food, waste, respiratory gases around the body. Yes. And then, what are the problems caused by the coelom? The existence of that coelom there is not absolutely good. There are also other challenges that it causes. One, it separates the body wall from the gut, causing difficulty in transporting digested food and respiratory gases, resulting into the development of the transport system. So remember, the coelom is that cavity which is in the body where the organs are developing from. For example, the digestive system. So, and it separates one organ from the other, and even from the rest of the body. So each organ is cushioned, yeah, and is independent from the rest of the body, and is not affected by activities from another organ. So that kind of arrangement creates spacing between different organs, but also between organs and the body wall, such that if materials are to be transported from the body wall to any of the organs, the distance is long, and therefore there is requirement for a vascular system or a transport what system. Yes, so that means it is problematic. The presence of the coelom makes transportation of materials a little bit difficult, and therefore necessitating a vascular or transport system. The other one is increased size and complexity. Requires a more complex coordination system, therefore a more elaborate nervous what system. So you can see that as we have this coelom develop together with the organs that are embedded in it, you realize that the whole body becomes more complex, and therefore controlling it and coordinating it may not be easier. Therefore, there was need for development of a complex nervous system. So that is those are the challenges that we have in possession of the coelom. Great. So thank you and welcome back from phylum Annelida, and now we are moving to phylum Mollusca. I don't know whether you know any of those members. I have confidence that you know at least one or two of them. Yeah, so let's observe them, and those are the other members. In case you know one of them, the rest are also in the same phylum, and the phylum is called Mollusca. Let's pronounce it together, phylum Mollusca. So we want to look at them. Let's start with their characteristics. One, they are triploblastic coelomates, just like the Annelids. They have 3 germ layers, and they have a developed coelom. They have soft bodies which are covered by a calcareous shell, the shells that are made up of calcium. Yeah, and those shells are produced by a certain tissue called the mantle. So the shells develop from the mantle. So you have seen one from the snail shell. So under that shell there is an epidermal tissue called a mantle from which the shell develops. And that shell keeps on growing as an organism also grows. Great. They have unsegmented bodies. They don't have segments in their bodies, but their head is distinguishable. You can easily tell the head from the rest of the body. Then they have a foot. Yes, they have a foot, and that one usually used ventrally located, used for locomotion. and then they have a hump where usually the shell is attached if they have it. And then most have bilateral body symmetry. Most of them you can divide into two equal parts or two equal mirror images, but others are asymmetrical, like the snails, as we shall see. They don't have any symmetry, but most of them have the body symmetry. They show organ system grade of organization, meaning their level of organization is at organ level. They have organs. Yes. Their body is soft and segmented. We said that earlier. The body is divisible into three regions: the head, the visceral mass, and the ventral foot. Yes. They can be found in different habitats. There are those that are found in aquatic, purely in water. You have heard of the water snails that are even edible. If you go to West Africa, it's a delicacy. And then others are terrestrial. You have seen the land snails moving around the roads and so on. The body cavity is the hemocoel through which the blood circulates. The digestive system is well developed. If we say digestive system is well developed, it means it has all organs ranging from the mouth to the anus. And then it has a radula, which is a tongue-like structure which has some teeth in it and is used for feeding, for capturing prey and also feeding. They have a nervous system that is made up of the ganglia and the nerves. And then their respiration or gaseous exchange takes place through the ctenidia. And then their ventral foot is used for locomotion, like we said before. And then they have a pair of kidneys that are not well developed, and they are called the metanephridia. Yeah, but there are two of them, two metanephridia. And then they have separate sexes, the male and the female separate. And most of them carry out internal fertilization, but there are some few that conduct external fertilization. Those are their characteristics. So let's look at the classes that are found in this phylum. We have class Gastropoda. Class Gastropoda. And these ones include the slugs and the snails. They include the slugs and the snails. And these are the most common ones in our terrestrial habitats. And these ones, their characteristics include they have a distinct head with eyes and sense tentacles. When you look at the head of the snail, you see two things on top of it, like the antennae. Those ones are called tentacles. And then the shell, when present, is single and often coiled. And we can witness this in the snails. They have coiled shells. And then they have a radula, which is a tongue-like organ, which is used for feeding, which also has some teeth in it and is used for feeding. So those are the members of phylum Mollusca. They have a distinct head. The shell is one and it is coiled, and then they have a radula. So that is how they look like. The garden snail looks like that, or slightly different depending on the species, but largely they are like that. Then those two things you are seeing on top is what we call the tentacles, are used for sensitivity. And then the other one is the slug. Slug, the difference between the two is that the slug does not have the shell. Yeah, but all of them live in terrestrial habitats. And then we can look at class Polychaeta. Class Polychaeta. And this one includes the mussels, the oysters, and the clams. So those are the members of class Polychaeta. So what are the characteristics of the members of this class Polychaeta? They don't have tentacles. Those things you saw on top of the snail's head that are used for sensitivity are not there in these members of Polychaeta. No tentacles. Their head is also small and reduced. And then the shells have two halves. They have two halves, meaning one shell is divided into two. equal halves. And then most of them are filter feeders, meaning they obtain their food from water. Yeah, they get their food by grabbing or absorbing particles within the water. So we can see some of them there. You can see the oyster, the mussels, and then the clams. That's how they look like. You can see the clam. You can see their shells are usually there's one shell but has two halves, and that's how they look like. Some of them are edible and they are eaten where they are. So another class there is class Cephalopoda. Class Cephalopoda. Cephalopoda. The members are called cephalopods, and these ones include the much more developed and more cephalized members of phylum Mollusca. And their foot has developed into a set of arms called tentacles. So instead of having the ventral foot like it is in snails, they have developed arms, which are tentacles, very long, and they use them usually for capturing the prey or for defense. Their body is symmetrical. They have symmetry depending on the number of tentacles they have. And then their left and the right sides are usually identical. Most of the cephalopods rely on their well-developed vision to detect their prey or potential enemies. They are even able to detect the polarization of light. Surprisingly, some of them are colorblind. Some of them are colorblind, even if many of them have the ability to change colors according to the surrounding. Imagine yourself being able to change colors, but you cannot detect the colors you have changed. That is surprising. Yes, but these members, like the octopus, can change colors. Some species of the octopus can change colors depending on where they are located, to camouflage or to mimic the environment so that they cannot be identified by the predators or even the prey. Cephalopods are regarded as most intelligent vertebrates. They are very intelligent, meaning they have a high development of the brain. And the brain is large compared to the body size, and the nervous system is very complex. Remember, some of them can even be kept as pets. You remember in 2006 World Cup in Germany, there was an octopus that was used to predict matches. Yeah, to tell which team would win, and it predicted most of the matches. So that was surprising. Well, however, it's not one of the characteristics here, but I think it depicts the fact that they are highly cephalized. They are highly cephalized. So let's look at the members there. We can see the octopus, we can see the squids. The squid is one of the fastest aquatic organisms. The squid is one of the fastest aquatic organisms. Actually, it is the fastest invertebrate. It is in water. It is it's an excellent swimmer. And then the octopus there. And then, well, those are the members of phylum Mollusca. We have the gastropods, the pelycopods, and the cephalopods. My prayer is that you manage to differentiate them, because that is the major aim of this lesson, for you to be able to identify these different organisms and also give their characteristic. So let's move to another phylum. Phylum Echinodermata. Phylum Echinodermata. And that word stands for spiny skin. As you can see there, you can see the sea urchins there with very beautiful spines on their skins. And then you can also see there the starfish and other members of phylum Echinodermata. So the examples include the sea cucumbers, Probably you must have eaten the garden cucumber. Yes, you bought it from the market and ate it. Well, there is another echinoderm that looks like that exactly, although it has an animal in this case. It has spines on its body, but it has the same shape like the cucumbers in the market. The others called the sea lilies, the brittle stars, the sea urchins, and the starfish. Those are the members of phylum Echinodermata. So we have there the beautiful starfish. Why is it called starfish? It has the shape of a star. And then we have the sea cucumber there, and then the sea urchins. So looking at the structure of one of them, the common one, the starfish, you are able to see the anus there on top, and then the madrioporite, which is used to equalize the water pressure in the water vascular system of these members. It is where water passes and comes out to equalize the water pressure inside. Then it has the spines there, which is a distinguishing characteristic of this phylum. Having spines on the skin is what we call echinodermata. Then it has those arms, and then the feet there, you can see. The mouth is usually below, and then the anus is on top. So that is how you can look at them. The anus is located on top, and then the mouth is below, is ventrally located. Characteristics: their skin bears spines, hence the name of the phylum. Echinodermata is spiny skin. So by the mere mentioning of the name Echinodermata, it means the skin is spined. Then adults show the pentaradiate symmetry. It means it can be divided into 5 equal parts. Yes, you can divide, for example, the starfish into 5 equal arms. That's what we call pentaradiate symmetry. The mouth generally occurs on the lower side, the oral side, while the anus occurs up. It's called the littoral, not littoral, littoral side, or the arboral side. Sorry, the littoral side or the arboral side. They lack proper circulatory system. They don't have a proper circulatory system, but they have a water vascular system. And then they are exclusively marine inhabitants, meaning they live most of their time, or most of the members are usually found in marine habitats, in salty water. They have a calcareous skeleton made up of calcium spines, or calcium-made structures. They move slowly by concerted action of numerous suctoral tube feet. So they have those tube feet we saw earlier, and that's how they move. Other facts about them: the echinoderms don't have blood. Did you know that? They have a water vascular system. Echinoderms have tiny feet all over their arms, as we saw earlier. Echinoderms are predators. Did you know that? The sisters have eyes, or at least eye spots that they use for sensing, especially detecting of light. Did you know that if you put a sea cucumber in fresh water, it can explode? Yes. And why is it so? Because it does not have the capacity of eliminating excess water. It doesn't have that adaptation. Because it is living in salty water, it has the capacity of only eliminating excess salts from the body. So the cells will absorb a lot of water and it will burst. The sea cucumbers can puke their guts out, literally. So they can remove their guts out of the whole body during some circumstances, especially during danger. They can do that. And then the sea urchins are eaten by some people. Did you know that? That sea urchins can be a serious delicacy. Probably one of these days in the future, you need to travel around the world and look for where they eat the sea urchins, and then you test and see how these members can taste. You never know, it can be a serious delicacy. Meanwhile, we want to thank you very much for being very good listeners, and I want to meet you in the next lesson, that is lesson 9. But the assignment for now is for you to be able to identify, to summarize, summarize all the phyla we have looked at: phylum Echinodermata, phylum Mollusca, and phylum Annelida. Identify the organisms and give the characteristics of these organisms, and then also identify them. That would be great. Thank you very much and stay safe.